Hey moguls, it's Dr. T here, and I am just so happy to be coming to you today with some amazing upgrades that are going to help you transform from struggle to mogul and really be able to unfuck your life, help you escape from the slave system, and really allow you to achieve freedom. So I'm so glad that you're here today and that we can connect on this level. And I can share as a psychologist, a success coach, and somebody that has been transforming high net worth and ultra high net worth people and people who want to be in my career as a psychologist, that ultimately everything that I've seen in human transformation comes down and boils down to the fact that what people really want more than anything, and what causes so much of their difficulty that ends up resulting in psychological issues, emotional challenges, dysfunction, and all of that, is that ultimately, no matter what they do, no matter in certain areas of the world, no matter how hard they work, no matter how well intended they can be, they end up feeling like they're ultimately not actually free. Even when they end up having whatever, $280 million in the bank. The things that I've learned over the course of my career in my life, but my career as a psychologist to high net worth people and people who want to be, is that there's so much programming that has gone into them, into their partners, into their families, and basically since they were young, there's so much negative programming that has gone into people that unless they do a certain set of strategies, they can ultimately feel like no matter what they do, like they don't have the freedom. And so we're going to be connecting today on, again, how to really unfuck your life. There's the language. How to escape from this slave system and how to get more freedom. And really, I want to start also by defining that the slave system, while it is in certain parts of the world based on the actual system that people have come up in, where they are living in, it's also a slave system of a certain set of programming that humans have been taught that is some sort of path to health, wealth, happiness, and freedom that is absolute bullshit. Because if it were true, then we would not have the 1% who really actually gets to, have all the fun and create everything they want and have that go on for eons and eons, living in absolute freedom where they know they're 100% secure no matter what happens. And let's even be, I'm going to be generous and say, or we wouldn't have just say 10% of the world's population. I'm going to be really generous. It may be less than that, who are actually living at a mogul level where there is literally like such a level of freedom that they are secure, they're happy, healthy, wealthy in the truest sense. Because even when people who are doing really well, let alone the people at the typical at the top mogul level, the people that are the most powerful and influential and wealthy, even when they are there, one of the challenges that is that they're living in a world where the mass population isn't doing well. And so even when they are like, trying to be in their own bubble, the reality is that a certain amount of them end up turning their attention toward helping more people in the world try to unfuck themselves, escape the slave system, and achieve freedom. And they focus on that. And that's what we're seeing in this revolution that we see now in new media, where all the top moguls are like, hey, I got out, let me help you out. Let me help you literally out. And yet, the reality is for literally every human on the planet, whatever level of freedom and wealth they have achieved, the reality is that when the mass population is living at such a low frequency, which has been by design by a certain powerful population of people that are running the game, that the unfortunate thing is that the entire frequency of humanity is so low that everyone ends up experiencing that. Everyone ends up experiencing those difficulties. And it's, everybody's so used to it. But when you really understand it, it's an incredibly unhealthy, dysfunctional. We all know that, but it's chaotic, and it's a purely toxic environment to the human organism, the world we're living in right now. So the goal is for more people to unfuck themselves in their life, really escape that slave system, which is, again, it can be location, it can be country, it can be region. It's a literal system, but it's also a system of the mind and programming and where humanity has been, which is, again, a teeny tiny percent of people are free and the rest of the population is suffering. Because even if you take the understanding that the richest of the richest people, we have billionaires killing themselves, and my clientele over the years have been high net worth people and people who want to be, who are aspiring and moving up to that level, who had all of that and still were like jacked up, needing support, needing reprogramming, needing upgrading of that software because of all of the bad programming of the world, and particularly that programming that really is like, it's really bad. It's like just absolutely like, oh, suffering is necessary. This is what has to happen. It's like that's the worst, and that's the worst of it. So today we're going over and just going into just a higher level of how you, again, can just unfuck yourself, escape from that slave system on any level that it has you, any level that it has you trapped. And for some people, it can be, again, trapped where your whole entire material reality represents that trap in that cage. And it can be trapped where maybe you do have some material freedom and flexibility and security, but you're still in the slave system of the mind, the slave system of the systems that have been programming humans to be suffering, and why that is and how we can achieve freedom. Because when you really look at what we're going to look at today, it'll help make sense of why this whole storyline of like, oh, just everybody has to suffer, blah, blah, like, it's just the way it is. And there's actually a path to freedom where you can reprogram that program in general and replace it with something else. So the one that I'd like just right now, since I've said it a few times, is flowing. I'm going to go with flowing instead of suffering. So we're just going to be focused on how you can achieve this freedom. And I really invite you to stay tuned, because this is, this is priceless, because this is freedom. So if you value freedom, stay tuned, and I'm going to help get you there. This is therefore worth millions, billions. It's really what anyone wants to assign to their very actual freedom on both a material level, experiential level, and entire level of reality. So it's important to know, first and foremost, we're going to start out in just laying some foundation for understanding and having the ability, even though so many of you are just so programmed to know, so programmed in such a way that it's got you stuck. What I know is if you tune into this content and you want to be free, some part of you is there, some part of you is on the inside of you. And even though there are layers of programming over you and in your cells, you're still in there, the real you. And you know that the way that reality has been working for you has not been working. You know that it's absolutely miserable. It's not sustainable. You know that all it keeps doing is leading to more and more difficulty and suffering. And for a great deal of you, it's not alleviating the suffering. It's not alleviating the experience. It's only intensifying, and you're not achieving freedom. So I just want to acknowledge that, acknowledge all of you, provide my empathy and understanding, because I completely understand this on every level, which is why I'm sharing this. And just a little bit about me, so you know what brings me to do this, who I am. My name is Dr. Tracy Thomas, Tracy Elizabeth Thomas. I like to connect with that more because my name means, while I'm a psychologist and a success coach, let me say this, and a Wall Street Journal bestselling author and a TED speaker and all those things that people think are really important. I only say that so you know that I've spent my life, having these qualifications, getting them, living them, writing transformational books, doing coaching programs, essentially transformational reprogramming programs for high net worth, ultra high net worth people and people who aspire to be. People who want to go from the deepest struggles to being a top mogul. That's been what I've been doing. My programs have ranged on the low for more of a group program, $50,000 a year. Private clients at a minimum have paid $100,000 a year, and some families have signed contracts and companies for $1 million a year to be reprogrammed from so many of the bad programmings that are in people's systems, the individual, the couple, the family, the company, and replacing that with upgraded programming. I should say that too, that I've been helping individuals, couples who want to be power couples, individuals who want to be moguls, couples who want to be power couples, families who want to be dynasties, and businesses that want to be empires. And I'm also someone that's been living in this world. I spent most of my life until recently in the US in that slave system. Appreciate the qualities that have been beneficial and always have been in gratitude for that. And also am able to speak truth to power and what the experience is like. And am also inviting all of you, as we move through a transformational experience, to do something very, very transformational, which I have been able to do, willing to do, and I'm continuing to transform myself, reprogram myself, and elevate out of that system, unfuck my own life and my programming from that system, which is, again, part of the system of the world of immense suffering. And I have been someone that just adhered to the entire prescription in the US of the world. Do these things, do all the right things, and you'll do all the right things and you'll be blessed. And I spent many years taking it to a whole other level, which was never, I went from the get a job and do this thing that they teach you to do, to being an entrepreneur, running a very successful 7-figure transformation company, and learning a lot in that. doing a lot of transformations, learning a lot, and having my own experiences in all of that, and really being able to see the forest for the trees, and coming to understand what's really happening to people and what kind of transformations they actually really need to get people to where they actually want to be, not just the level that's good and great and outstanding and exceptional, but to where they actually want to be. And what I've come to be able to realize is that so much of the trauma that people struggle with, that plagues them their whole life, doesn't just come from their family system. It comes from the entire system continuing on throughout their life. So people are I see all over the internet and all the podcasts, it's like everybody's, okay, we understand you had childhood trauma. All of that's true. And yet what it is the whole system that your parents were in, your parents' parents, all of that. We've got to be able to first come to admit something we know and we talk about and everybody bitches about and is miserable, but we don't literally say, I can literally wake up from this. I can literally go, this is not it. This is not what's required. It's not ideal for me. So everybody's talking, oh, your childhood trauma, and everybody's telling their story. I completely invite you to recognize that while it is, most people's childhoods are ridiculously, profoundly, intensely, brutally traumatic, it is also because the system they are born into and that their poor family members have been in for a lot longer by the time you come into the world is entirely, profoundly traumatizing to people. It is not human. It is inhumane. That's where the suffering comes from. It's not what the universe and the evolutionary forces want for us as they try to program us, as the forces of nature say, hey, here's a great new idea. All the forces of nature, all evolution, God, however you want to believe in it, are saying, be successful, be free, all the highest level ideas and frequency. But the man-made system programs people into slavery. And it's important for us to be able to recognize that and admit that. That's my puppy, TJ. Thank you, TJ. It's important for us to be able to recognize and admit that first, and not just in the way where we sit around and bitch with our friends and our neighbors and deeply inside just be like, this is a fucking shit show. I hate Earth. I hate being here. I want to get out of here, which is like a lot of people's truth. So I'm inviting you first, in order to unfuck your life, to escape from the slave system and achieve freedom, we need to come to a truth with ourselves and with each other, which we can do here. And if you have any intimate people in your life that will actually do that with you, great. And if you don't, because people are going to fight you on this and they're going to try to talk you out of it and override you, this is the place you can do it. And my channel is going to keep, I'm going from working with ultra high net worth people and putting all my attention to them for the first time this year. Everything that I've ever wanted to do with building an online community and bringing this transformation to more of the masses is happening. It's my focus and priority and my philanthropic purpose. So if there are people in your life that you can have a real conversation with, which are very few people have, because everybody, wherever you are, and I'm just going to say, because I was used to being in the US, I know that in the US, everybody's so indoctrinated that nobody has real conversations. It's like so rare. Everybody is on some weird freaking program to pretend that what's happening to them is not happening to them. So this is a place where we're going to be honest. We're here to be real. We're here to be authentic. We're here to unfuck ourselves, and we're here to transcend that system, transcend the suffering, and really, for me and the people that my clients, they're spending their life in the aspiration of that freedom and that reprogramming from what has happened to them, and their families, generation after generation after generation, and what's happening to all the people around them that they love and care about, because it's everywhere. I can say honestly, living in the US, when I really am honest with myself, now that I'm out of there, and even when I was getting ready to leave, I could honestly say that for the most part, most of my entire life, other than a few exceptional people that were on the track that of my were like people that are just absolutely leading and changing the world and influencing things that I got to connect with, most everybody is fucking miserable, suffering, feels tortured, dysfunctional, and just self-medicating their way through it. Pretending, being inauthentic, struggling, and living in a state of like just total unfulfillment. And so the first, and wherever you are in the world, because this is I am in Dubai, outside of the US, and this is going out internationally. Wherever you are in the world, what I want to say to you is, if you feel like the life you're living, the way it is, the way you feel like you're being forced to live or made to live is not right for you, you can finally admit that. And not just admit it in a way which is like, this isn't good, but then I have to keep doing it. Or saying it to maybe someone, this isn't good and I have to keep doing it. Or like, you know, having anxiety and trying to get that fixed and then saying this isn't good, but then not actually dealing with what's really actually causing it. Because it is also a premise that I have as a psychologist that, and a human in this world, that all the mental health symptoms and health symptoms are primarily from emotional stress, and a variety of that, which is that the very slave system that is inhumane that people are living in is catastrophic to people, causes the suffering, causes the torture to their system, and ultimately over time just ends up creating a massive amount of dysfunction in people's system, because we're not meant to live in pain. We're not meant to live in dysfunction. A human organism is not meant for that. It doesn't matter. I mean, we can say to ourselves all day, well, I just have to do this thing because that's the way the world is. I get it better than anyone. Been on that program. Been there, done that, wrote the books. But after doing so much transformation with people, and then recognizing even with that, the system that they were in was so, that we're all living in was so bad for them. The way of life and all the programming that says you have to do it this way. Effectively, you have to kill yourself to be alive. And then the path is all of these awful things that are going to happen to you along the way. And in between, you get a little bit of joy and a teeny bit of play. And then you just have to self-medicate your way through trying to like not be in that reality as much as possible because you're in it. So there's a reason that as a psychologist, this is what I've been turning my life's work toward, because the trauma is systemic trauma. It's programming trauma of bad programming. And when any one of us as a human organism with our own human design feels and knows that something isn't good for us, right for us, healthy for us, it hurts. It's stressful, which is the sign of the body going like, no, resist, resist, resist. And we are then told and pushed by all of the people indoctrinated in this system, understandably trying to help you follow the program, because it's like, well, you got to follow this program. There's no option not to. Instead of recognizing that each being that says, this hurts, this is painful, this is making me anxious, it's making me depressed, it's making me numb, give me something to check out of this, it's making me sick in this way and that way. We just either suppress the person. We are so afraid that they won't get on board the whole freaking slave system. We push them to do that. We force them to go do things like school systems that literally hurt them on a daily basis. They're literally in pain on a daily basis. We say, oh, go do that because that's what everybody has to do. Check that box. And from a very early age, effectively, the human organism that is so precious and amazing and full of the massive amount of potential here for a purpose that evolution brought in to bring humanity to the next level, just gets the shit beat out of it. Massive amounts of dysfunction, massive amounts of suppression, massive amounts of pain from in every way, shape, or form. I have lived this out. I know it intimately. And I also know that at every single point, I have lived this, and you may recognize this in you, that at every single point where I tried to say, this hurts, whether it was crying as a kid, as an adult, whatever it is, at any point, I'll just say, I was like, this hurts, I need more support. This is not right. Any point I tried to verbalize it, any point I was expressing the dysfunction in it. Like, for example, growing up in a family where people had a lot of eating dysfunction. My whole family were either addicts to alcohol or addicts to food or addicts to something, like every other family, like all humans now. I mean, it's 1,000,000% worse now. And as I began to express, I was in the system long enough, and then in my family system where they were just like doing that to escape the awful reality of the overall system that was torturing them. And then I begin to express it. I'm like, hey, this is not good. I need help. They're like, just suppress me. I'm like, hey, I need some help. I'm dying here. And they're just like, nope, just go along with this program. And I'm like, all right, I'll go along with it. Making me sick, making me more programmed, telling me there's no way that even if I express it, nothing's going to happen if I say ouch. And that is how the slave system is designed. Because it says, go along with this inhumane experience. Go along with all of these things that we're telling you to do. And only a teeny tiny amount of the population that is in power is in pulling all the strings and having all the fun and having all the abundance and all the resources and access to anything and everything they want and need. Literally gluttonously fulfilling their needs, and then some on every level, almost to a point where they get super weird, because we all know how super, super rich people can get super weird, because they're just literally gluttons for all that abundance, while they're very well aware other people are suffering. But they're taught, some of these people, some help, of course, we see that now. Some don't, because they're taught these people they don't even matter. They're not even human. And it's too big of a problem. So just go buy another Rolex and a Lamborghini and a mansion. So we're really taught, and this is why we have to unfuck ourselves and reprogram. We're taught from the very beginning, as our parents have already been indoctrinated into whatever system we've been in, to get us to do X, Y, and Z, to have us follow that program, which, interestingly, pretty basic stuff. If we follow the same program that you followed, we're going to get the same results that you're already miserable with. But the programming is so deep, to just keep in line so you belong. You're taught this is the only way to be safe. And while a tiny segment of the population is on a completely other program where they're like having access to all the best stuff, they know how to play the game, they know how to get rich, they know how to literally rig the game for all of it to come to them. They know how to build everything like the moguls. They build their empires and their dynasties and their legacies. And they've got resources for the next 100 years. And and even more than that, they've got resources for the next 10 generations of their family to live like kings and queens, to depending on where you are in the food chain, as they say, people are taught, go to this process, go through this system, do this, this, and this, follow this prescription, and everybody knows that it's not working. We see the data of only a small percentage of people doing well. And even if you know people that are doing very well, they're still just, struggling with tons of anxiety, depression, and dysfunction. And then they've got that in their family. So even if someone in a family is doing well and moving out of that equation, I myself felt like I was going into so much levels of consciousness, but all around me, my family was just with all these mental health issues. And then I started to literally become like that. And I had to make a shift. Started to feel that happening to me. So we need to just get into a realization. It's very important that some of you that are watching this will literally be like, your programming is so steeped in it. You're going to be like, nope, does not compute. And later, when you get enough suffering, when you have enough pain going on from that system, and you will get there, this will eventually, hopefully, change for you, and you'll have an avenue out. But for those of you that are tuning into this video, wherever there's a crack of awareness, and you can go, yes, I agree. I know what you're saying. This is your moment. And if there's a crack of opening for you to awaken, you've got to go all in for it. That's my invitation. And again, just like anything, when we change, and we're so used to talking about this with like alcohol and drugs, gambling, maybe porn, maybe food, but we got to get on a different level with it. We've got to go to a level that says the first step is admitting the problem, admitting the truth, admitting what's not working, and admitting that maybe our biggest addiction, if we want to call it that, our biggest problem is that we're programmed into a slave system, and that is what keeps us enslaved. Because if you're enslaved on one level, you'll be enslaved on every level. So if you're programmed into a slave system, and that's what is programmed into your cellular DNA through the system, through your parents, through every layer of the system. There's many layers of it that get programmed onto you for the first, let's say, 7 years of your life. And then it just layer after layer. And you're deep down inside of there somewhere like, let me out of here. If you're programmed into that slave system, you will then ultimately end up being a slave to all kinds of stuff. You'll be a slave to food. You'll be a slave to alcohol. You'll be a slave to drugs. You'll be a slave to any number of things. You'll be codependent with people, and you'll be a slave to them. You'll be even a slave to love. You'll be a junkie, because this is the prescription. When in reality, as much as I love love, it's about 400 on the frequency scale of 1 to 1,000. If you want to check out the frequency scale, Google Hawkins frequency scale. We want to be up at the 1,000 level, where we feel light flowing. We're in truth. We're going to feel free. We're going to have a high frequency, and in a high frequency reality, you get high frequency material reality happening, but we've got to get there. So you're programmed to be a slave to all of these things, and that is why you are. And I understand that very, very much, because even as a person who has sought freedom my whole life, which is part of my human design system, which I'll say more about later, and helped other people getting to it, I also have had to, at certain points, recognize, holy shit, oh my God, I was actually in a layer of the matrix and didn't know it. So now, time to come out of that one, come out of the next one, come out of the next one. Because the more you program yourself, which I've spent years doing with my team, with my clients, and attempted to do with my family, who at this stage still is just very trapped in that system of slavery. This is my extended family of origin. When we come to recognize the layers of programming that are there, it's like with each new piece of programming that brings you into a higher level self, a higher frequency, a higher level of being more like a mogul, connected to, instead of just this low level aspirations, it's like building empires, dynasties, building worlds, which is what's happening now. People are building worlds, people are building galaxies. We're calling them communities, but people are building worlds for people to exist in better environments, because that's the way we can access a new reality. So that's one of the exciting things I'm doing here in this stage, this very beginning stage of doing it online in YouTube, of building the International Goals Club community of people that want to be powerfully influential global citizens who are not locked into one reality, one location, one territory, one system, and are open and truly free in the world. So it takes this first step of being willing to admit the truth, and not just this, like just sitting there bitching at my friends, I hate paying taxes. Like that's like such one level. That's just like scratching the surface. Right. And then typically somebody will commiserate with you, but then typically someone is saying, well, but no, it's not this bad. Other people are da 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 da, and all of that stuff. My invitation to you to be able to unfuck yourself, escape from the slave system, and begin to achieve freedom is first and foremost to get into the truth and admit the problem. And that is, and then we say, well, but what am I going to do? Like, the mind says, oh my God, what am I going to do? It's such a big deal. And that's part of, I'm just going to say that's part of the programming that's stuck in there, that was put into you, which is like, the moment you start recognizing and awakening and starting to get a connection to what the reality is that's happening to you, and connecting to being more free, there's built-in programming that is like an internal jail that they programmed into you that goes like this. It's like as if you were in a real prison and you kind of escaped over one fence, but then, oh shit, there's another fence with barbed wire. And then you go, okay, I'm going to climb that. You make it through, you got some wire cutters, you do whatever. And then, oh my God, now there's another one. There's a massive wall that I can't get through. And then it just says to you, this is impossible. No, 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 no. It says, and it even says you're bad for thinking about it. So there's so many layers built into you that are to keep you trapped in the slave system, that it's just very profoundly transformative, first and foremost, to allow yourself to connect to this truth in a new way, which we're going to talk about today, because it's going to help you make some certain shifts that you need to make. I thought this was off. Let me try to go. Okay. I'm going to turn this more off. It's off. So first and foremost, this is a different mode. So I'm going to invite you all into this level of the upgrade where we can just really do stage one. And I'm going to continue on over the course of my trajectory and my continual growth in more and more freedom, to bring more of these steps within these topics so that you continuously have the ability to transform and move through each step. But this step for this video at this time and this moment is the largest thing of all, that everything else that you ever do to unfuck your life, escape from the slave system, and achieve actual freedom is first and foremost to get into what is the highest frequency that exists that we know of. And that is the frequency of truth. And the frequency of truth is so powerful that, for example, there's an exercise that's called muscle testing. And if I hold my arm out, say there was someone here on the other end, and I say a sentence that's true, and they push down on my arm at the same time. If I say a sentence that's true, doesn't matter what the sentence is, if it's true, just objectively in the world, not even just true in me, but literally true in reality. That's how powerful truth is. If I say something that's true and someone pushes down at the same time, I will go up and get stronger. If I say something that's not true or less than the frequency of truth and someone's pushing down when I say the sentence, I won't have as much. I might go down. They could easily push me down, or I might wobble. That's how powerful truth is. Truth not only sets you free, we've all heard that, and then everybody ignores it because you're taught to, you're programmed to ignore it because they don't. I mean, that's the last thing the system wants, is for you to be in truth. And if you are, it's got stuff set in there for you to get shut down and be afraid and get crushed. And no wonder people are afraid. But when we first get into truth, it's different than how it's just ever been before, where we're like, we're going to get into the truth. We just say it to friends. We say, yeah, this is awful. This is miserable. This is crazy. I don't like it. I don't like my job. We've done all these things our whole life. We've had some authentic conversations. Hopefully you've had some people in your life that you can have authentic conversations with. Hopefully it's your own self as well. And to whatever degree, we're going to take that up a whole notch, because that's what's going to unfuck your life in the biggest level, and it's foundational. And we got to get into the truth of what's going on, of what we really know, before we start to feel like I got to go do everything about it. That's like starts to overwhelm us and doesn't let us settle in to a level with which we can trust ourselves and be like, this is what it is. I know all this because I've lived this. I get it. My clients have lived it. And everyone that's ever come into consciousness understands this. So when we first connect to truth, there again is so many built-in mechanisms to tell you that you're wrong and to doubt you. We've got to understand that from the beginning of your life, everywhere where you as a human organism were just like a truth being, and whatever it was, like if you hurt, you cried. If you wanted something, you cried. Like, and everywhere you got molded into a suppressed version of yourself and taught to ignore the truth and to basically follow the program. Get on board, even if it crushed your soul and your spirit and made you sick and miserable. And we're just like, well, hey, that's just how it is here. That's like everybody. So, and you know what? Then they would say, oh, you're not alone. So it'd be like, oh, well, I'm not alone at being sick and miserable. Okay, that's my benefit. Okay, great. No, it's not a benefit. Then they convince you, well, being in truth, you're just going to be isolated. You're going to be on your own. You're not going to belong. Nobody's going to like you. And we've seen that play out where people like reject people who are in the truth. They call them crazy. They do all kinds of stuff. So there's everything built in every layer of the system for you to be rejected for being in truth. And that's happened your whole life. So even when you get into it, it has all these qualities that are there, that even though it's the highest frequency, all the other programs can kick in for you to doubt yourself and for you to rationalize all the things they've gotten you to rationalize, to effectively go from them setting up a system that is containing you, conquering you, individuating you, dividing and conquering, programming you, extracting you from you, poisoning you, and maintaining you and keeping you as an asset and as a slave for that system. And it's very much designed in for people to go from them doing that to you to pretty quickly you doing that to yourself. And then for the rest of your life, just like, I think there's some like adage or story about like this, they tie an elephant to this stake. And the elephant stays there, and a certain amount of time goes by and it can't move and it can't leave, and it's just like fucking trapped. And then they eventually take this elephant off of the stake. Come here, TJ, come here. They eventually, it's very important, take the elephant off of that stake, free it, and it just stays there. And I'm sure there's lots of other metaphors for this, but that's a very potent, profound one. And having been someone who literally has shared certain things like this with some of the closest people to me, if not the closest of the closest, and been like, I'm literally going to open the cage that you are in. I'm inviting you out, and I'm inviting you to freedom and to join me there. And a person literally viscerally like having program that's like angry in the response, like, how dare you? Because everybody's programmed to believe that that's reality and that that's normal, and that outside of it, if you wander outside of it, if you go into the big bad world, we're showing you all the programming of all the bad people. You don't want to jump the fence. You don't want to get out of this programming because we need you to keep this whole thing going, this whole Ponzi scheme going, depending on where you live. And we're going to keep telling you this is the best of the best. This is the greatest place. We have all your best interests at heart. But what we need to be able to know is what's true based on our own ability to assess it, because our human design system is built for us to know, is this feeling elevated and high frequency and a yes for me, or is this feeling the no? Because what we're taught now is when it feels like the no, we ignore that, and then we keep going toward it. You keep going toward dysfunctional relationships, things that are terrible for you. And because they've gotten you to now do it to yourself. Now we've gotten you to injure yourself. Now, instead of us getting you to smoke cigarettes, you're getting yourself to do it. Now, instead of us poisoning you with bad food, we're getting you to poison yourself. Now, instead of us getting you to do any number of things, now instead of us getting you to spend all the money you have and go into debt, you're doing it yourself. And that is a very powerful system, powerful programming. And this is why everybody keeps trying to do things to get themselves to stop being addicted to this and stop being addicted to that. But if we really get into the truth, we can just be like, you're a slave to this. You're literally, it's bitch, right? And all my life, as I've seen people who were slaves or their ancestors were slaves talk about this, and I'm like, horrified for them. I've always had the thought that to a great degree, whether it was women, don't even get me started on the women just being slaves. I mean, let's break it down. Like, it's so obvious. But mostly humans are slaves in the system that's been created by a small number of people at the top who benefit, who keep using the same program over and over. It's not nothing all that new. It just gets more and more sophisticated. Send you to slave school, program you with this stuff that is whatever, but we're going to learn how to do top level moguling. We're going to be moguls, magnates, tycoons, build empires and dynasties. We're going to know how to do everything in finance and mortgages and mergers and acquisitions. We're going to do all of this stuff, but we're going to teach you some friggin' trigonometry and whatever it is, and incubate you at some low level frequency. So you'll be our bitch the rest of our lives. We'll create all the companies and create all the realities, and you'll slave away for us. And then you'll do that for a low wage. And then we'll also tax you to death and then make you sick and extract more out of you in the consumer economy so you can feel a little bit better. And then when you get really, really sick, now you're a healthcare consumer and blah, 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 blah. And then all the money you gained, you're now going to spend on trying to not be sick. So It used to be that people waited years and years and years to be sick or got sick much later. Now it's happening. Kids can barely even tolerate the environment. They're sick from a very young age. So, first step, and it's the main step we're focusing on today to begin to achieve actual freedom, starts with freedom in the ability to tell yourself the truth. Freedom to first say, without feeling like you have to go right into the doing of something about it, although that will probably start to happen. The freedom to be in truth and different than just feeling bad about it inside, feeling depressed, bitching to your friends about it, commiserating, overriding it, or rationalizing it. And different than just positive thinking, because I am an absolute proponent for a version of that, which is intentionality, which brings you into a higher reality. The more you're in your intentions, the more you raise your frequency, the more you're in a higher reality. But false, I think what they call like toxic positivity, I don't know if I love that term at all, but it's not for you to go down into the doldrums and then need to give yourself some toxic positivity. It's just a grown ass level of being a top mogul, powerful within your own relationship with yourself, first and foremost, before it goes to anyone else, to be like, I've been programmed to be a slave. And even if you're at a higher echelon than most people, that's probably still in there. I've been programmed to be a slave. It's deep. It's the cause of literally all the struggle. I've been programmed to follow some prescription that is just about following the herd, getting some education to just get a job. More power to you if that's what you want. Instead of being programmed to be a leader, a mogul, an owner, and someone that gets to dictate the system and call the shots and actually create your own reality and the one that suits you. Because the thing you'll notice about the top moguls is their reality doesn't reflect some cookie cutter version. Like, probably, if depending on where you are, a lot of the people that are your friends, you all kind of live the same cookie cutter existence with some variety. The top moguls are completely writing their own story. Their process for living is by design. It's like they're not like, oh, you have to work this many days per week and you have to work this. They're not on that program that you got on. They're on a different program where they literally build their own reality uniquely by their design, exactly as they want it to be. And they keep refining it because they're too taking in that system of where it's supposed to be this certain way. So I'm going to connect to this way of understanding that even throughout your life, when you knew these things weren't right for you on any level, which also, by the way, when you know it's not right and then you're overridden and you kind of go, oh, it's not right, but I'll go along with it. And I'm going to go along with it because my mom and dad go along with it or whatever. That's how you end up in more and more jacked up situations, just more dysfunctional relationships, more jacked up, romantic partnerships, more and more crisis, because you're essentially overriding the basic level of truth, which is you're programmed into one way of being that is for the benefit of all these other people that do not have your best interest at heart. And that's different than being programmed by yourself with how you want to be in a way that will have truly your own interests at heart, where it's a win-win, where you and other people benefit. So going into that truth, and even as I'm taking you there right now, I can feel what that feels like. I know these moments, every layer of awakening that happens, every layer of consciousness that is like, whoa, this is the matrix, this is the slave system. And then even when you awaken, you go, oh my God, that's it. And I want to do this now. You'll find that as you go forward, this is what I would find as I was reprogramming clients. They would make it through. They'd have certain levels of where they were like, oh my God, I'm getting freer. I'm getting better. I'm getting higher in my frequency. And then they'd hit a level of where the programming was so deep, a ceiling of programming that had been programmed into them. Like, well, that's not possible. How could I go to that level? I'm this, or that, or I'm not that valuable, or I'm an imposter, or I'm a piece of shit, or I don't deserve this, or whatever it is. Or that's too hard. That's not possible. That's only for other people, not me. Every time anyone on my team, my own self, recognizes you hit a level of programming, this ceiling, which is like, okay, that's how far your programming will take you into more freedom and ease and infinite flow of resources and just high frequency reality. Then it's like, oh, you've hit another level of the prison that was built into you with these limitations, which you could say, well, humans do have limitations and then we break through them. And that's exactly what we're doing. We can also know that the reason humans have to break through a lot of these limitations is because they're programmed from the beginning to have them. And if we were programmed with like, you're an infinite being and you can literally do anything, your intentionality will take you there. If that's what we were programmed the entire time, that would be true. And we know the different people in the population who are programmed that way, and they just keep doing it and going to a higher level. So we're going to go further into that truth. And the way I'm inviting it to just come in and live within you, yeah, is that versus it like having to hit you on the head, make you feel so crazily anxious, or any number of these things, which myself and my clients have felt, these massive levels also of feeling stupid, feeling ashamed, like, how could I not see this? How could I not understand that I've been caged in this way? And now it's like in my programming so deep that I'm doing it to myself. There's a lot that goes along with that. It's like, how could I be so stupid? And the one that happens a lot for people is them feeling very betrayed. And I know that as you watch this and you come into more of understanding the truth, that you have been programmed so deeply in it that it became who you are, to imprison yourself, to not be free, and to be enslaved to any number of things, so that you will follow that program instead of being a truly sovereign, free king or queen of your own reality, making it as you want it to be, which there are plenty of people in the world doing that. They just so happen to be the top 1%, or maybe, if we're being generous, the top 10%. And then any number of variety of people that you can likely see on the internet that are doing amazing things. All these people that I admire so deeply, and I'm grateful for their leadership and mentorship. And just felt that it was time for me to come out from helping very rich people who can pay anything for this kind of reprogramming, so they can go to another level and get out of that matrix as well, to bring this to you so you can begin to just sit with this truth and just be able to say to yourself, and this is trust that this right now is enough, which is, it's a step that you need to get more comfortable with, more accurately, which is, every part of me that knows that something isn't right for me, that something hurts, it doesn't feel good, it makes me have to hurt myself, it makes me have to suffer, It makes me have to torture myself. It makes me have to lie to myself. It makes me have to be dysfunctional. It makes me have to be in pain. It makes me have to live in a way that is against what is ideal for me as a human organism and what my being is saying I need. It makes me have to deprive myself. It makes me have to be an actor, a manipulator to my own self. It makes me an enabler. It makes me crazy. I mean, don't even get me started. That's a whole other video. I mean, I think just coming out of the US alone, I can say everybody there is turning into a psych patient. And there's only so much therapy you can do when you're literally living in the environment that's doing this to you. So, it's like teeny little paddle and you're just like the ocean of all of the crap is on you. And believe me, if I thought that doing all of the processes I've done all these years was just enough, I would do that. But it's a deeper process to do more of it, to really go from being a psychologist that helps in this way and a success coach that helps in that way and an author that helps in this other way. I'm coming into a greater level of authenticity and this form of leadership, which is exploration for me too, because one of the things about being more in truth is that some people are so relieved and grateful. And the truth also has a way of really inciting people and having them be angry because they don't want to face it. They don't want that to be real. And it's built in to be like, you're telling the truth. It's literally built in for some people to literally attack the truth. Like, that's built into the programming of the slave system. Like, oh, you're going to be the one that, like, if anybody tries to say that this slave system is not right for you, you're going to attack them. Like, it's just built in. It's very, very insidious, the layers of it. So knowing how powerful it is to go from just kind of complaining or feeling bad or feeling like I'm just trapped, which is, I think, to me, and maybe to you, the worst feeling ever. It's like the biggest torture and suffering on a human system, on your spirit that is in this human body, here to liberate itself and to liberate humanity, which is why if you are here at this time, you were brought in for this purpose. In this new era and the exponential age of artificial intelligence, which is intelligence, which is going to reveal everything. Thank God. So we're not operating, I hate to say it, in stupidity and moronic versions of reality where we're like doing things that we know don't make sense. We're like, oh, it doesn't make sense. It's wrong, but we comply. It's so bizarre to me. My whole life I've thought this. I'm like, I don't get it, but it's built in for you to do it. Because the system's technically stronger than you right now. And my invitation for you in this truth moment, and to sit with that first and foremost, and keep watching every piece of my content that you can, liking, subscribing, sharing, is to be in that truth, begin to come into a level of being good, appreciating and grateful that you are coming into consciousness. And coming into it, I'll invite it to be in a very adult mogul level way. So it doesn't have to be so intense, which it can be, because it can just be like the ultimate betrayal and you just want to kill everybody and tell everybody. And it's so angering and painful to have this done to you. When you're like, I'm here to be a mogul. I don't want to be in struggle. I'm here to be a mogul too. When other people have been the predator and you have been the prey, and it's been done to you steadily, slowly but surely, like the frog in the pot boiling, so you don't notice it very much, and even when you do, you keep going along with it, because if it's not too abrupt or in your face in big ways, it's very much easier to do. It's almost like coming to recognize, which a lot of people are talking about right now, these narcissist experts, which I have a lot of experience in being in those relationships, unfortunately, and understanding finally what's happening to me and transcending that, but then also coming to realize that the only reason that more of these narcissist people are doing what they're doing to other people who are more empathic, being the narcissist to the and then getting the supply, is because it's a predator and a prey. And that comes from the top-down system where it is very animalistic, but because humans can think and think about their thinking, and we're very primitive as a society, humans can be way more manipulated because the fact that we are the thinking organism, the first one that we know of that can think about our thinking, interestingly, makes us more programmable than some creature in the wilderness who's just like, that doesn't feel right, I'm going over here. That's danger, I go here. This feels safe, I go here. The fact that our mechanism can be programmed, not, again, also not all that different than we program a dog to do what we want it to do. And it will follow that. The creatures in the wild simply just do, and just there's like yes to something good and no to something bad, and they go in that direction. It's that simple. They're not like, oh, let me think about it whether or not I should do that. And that, the insect is not like, there's danger, but I'm going to keep going toward it because I want to belong. They're like, danger, I go over here instead. I go away. I go to safety. I go to a higher level. But we're programmed that even when we feel something is wrong, we override it, and then we can't trust ourselves. And then we get into more situations where I don't know how to trust. Well, it's because you were taught not to trust yourself at all. That's built in. So step one is for you to come into a new level of, at minimum, being open to trusting yourself and the fact that you could say, at least, if this is you, great. If not, you're doing well. More power to you. I'm so happy for you. But for those of you that feel like you're not living the life you want, you're not where you want to be, you might even feel like this life is fucked. I want to unfuck my life. I want to get into a new way of being. I want to go more and more into the highest levels of transformation, into the new amazing age, exponential age, be on the new program where everything's heading because AI has taken us there. I want to be, all on an amazing new level of reality, end up in the new amazing age of like incredible digital currency and freedom to be just moguls of your own empires and dynasties. And this is now becoming available to everybody. Step one is that sense of just going like, what I'm doing is not it. The way my programming is not working for me. And I'm willing to recognize, first and foremost, that I've been programmed to be a slave. And even if that's just to a small degree right now, and you've gotten further out of it and you're ready to make the next level, it's the truth. And just being with it and going, all along, I've known this is hurting. It's not right for me. It's going against myself. It's painful. It's dysfunctional. It's causing long-term damage to me. And even though I don't know, or even, let's give yourself you don't need to know all the answers right now of everything you're going to do to fix it. Because the good news is there is a path, and there are tons of people out there in the world, and particularly I'm a fan of YouTube, tons of people bringing people into a new reality. And I am also one of them. I have almost 500 pieces of content, and counting. I'm going to be here every day of the year this year, doing lives and making more content every day, giving you more of a pathway. And ultimately, our international Moguls Club community that is on YouTube and literally newly forming is right now your opportunity. And right now, it is free. And this is a philanthropic endeavor. And for people who want more support beyond what's being provided here, there is more support through the International Moguls Club community, and the links are below this video in the description. So step one, just take that, do what you need to do to just get into a place of understanding with yourself without feeling like you need to go react all over the place and go do 5,000 things. It's just about being able to go, I'm here to be sane. I'm here to tell myself the truth. I'm here to stop hurting myself. I'm here to get myself into a new reality where I'm more of a mogul and calling the shots. I'm here to create the one that works for me and feels good for me exactly by design in the way that is ideal for me. I'm here to understand that I get to become someone who is a creator, who is a positive influencer to myself and others, who is creating my own new reality that is going to be the one that is the one for my ultimate destiny. And right now, everyone, you don't need to know every single aspect of what you're going to do. And oh my God, but how can it work? But it can, no, but this rule and that rule and this lot. And right now, I invite you to know that there are people all over the world who are in this system, who are understanding how to play the game at a level with the parameters that are in it. But even more importantly than those parameters that exist, they are incredible at literally every time they want something to shift, just creating a new way for that to happen. Literally creating the parameters. And so why are you just getting stuck in the parameters when you can become someone that creates them? Creates the strategies, creates the pathways, uses the creativity to do this, this, and this. I'm thinking of a client who literally at one point in the initial consultation, it's a very big money guy, and he was explaining some financial maneuvers with these different instruments and something he does with part of a regular financial asset, a market asset, stock asset, a real estate asset. It was literally putting these pieces of code together where if you do, and I was just like, dude, there are geniuses that do this. I am literally just still early in learning these kinds of things, having supported clients to be able to do these things. And there are just profoundly awesome formulas that the more you're out of the slave system, the more you raise your frequency and you become someone that is open to the mogul reality of empires and dynasties and great legacies and being free and writing the new narrative, the new story, and creating the parameters of the game and being people that are doing that. That's what we're seeing in the world right now. People are like, oh, here's a new version. And then I'm inviting you into it. This is what's available for you. We have to get you into a higher frequency. Because when you're in a higher frequency, your creativity, your energy, your capacity, when you're off of the slow system of hard work that's pounded into you and you get into the creative system of being a powerful creator mogul, all this incredible energy comes to you, creativity, and all of the what you're going to do to achieve freedom is going to come to you. But we want to first have you be in the truth. So as we wrap up today, I'm going to have you, as you're completing this, I'm going to have you do a few things that are going to help you. Number one, you're going to comment on this video and you're going to say, I am absolutely 100% committed to being in the truth of what's been happening to me and changing my reality. So simple version is I'm 100% committed to the truth. And you might even like it better. I'm giving you options. I'm committed to being a master of my reality. I'm committed to freedom. Any one of these things or all of them, you're going to make that claim. And whoever is around you, like if anyone else is not on that program, it's important to note that if you get it and the seeds of awakening and the path to freedom is opening up to you, somebody in all of that needs to go toward that. You need to go toward it, because the other version of freedom, when you're really more immersed in that, is another word for saying you're actually alive instead of being in a system that's making you dead. And literally then, through its programming, makes you eventually dead. So we're here to be alive. We're here to be free. So make that claim to freedom that is, of course, has to do with massive financial, material freedom. But that stems from you being in the freedom of telling yourself the truth within yourself, so that you can start to receive the directions and the navigation for the steps to completely escape the slave system, transcend it, rapidly transform, rapidly learn, change, and be immersed in the new world that many people are living in and are kind enough to know of your struggle and begin to invite you in to a new reality. And if you're being invited into a new reality beyond the slave system to become a mogul, a powerful person, a masterful person, then at some point you'll do that for other people too. Because that's part of the mogul disposition, part of the mogul programming. Okay, lastly for today, it's very important for you to subscribe and like so that this content can go to more people, because part of awakening is understanding how many people are suffering and need these breadcrumbs. It also, truth coming right to you, helps support the people like myself who, instead of just going off on our freedom and just doing whatever we want, it supports the people who are kind enough to show up for you, share these pathways to an ascension for you, to the freedom, and to support the very people who are supporting you. And even if you said, well, I don't know, see, you just want me to support you, whatever that story is, doesn't it make sense that if there are people who could be doing literally anything else and they are supporting you like I am right now, and you would like more of that to happen, doesn't it make sense to support them, even if it's only so there's more support coming to you? I mean, it's just built in. And I want you to be intelligent about that. The more you support content for your freedom and your ascension out of the slave system, the more will come to you. It's just the way it is. The more that support is there, the more the universe will know also that you'd like more of it. And the more the people like myself who are supporting you will have more of the energy through the subscribing, through the resources that come from that, through the enthusiasm that comes from that, to say, great, I'll keep giving it to you and I'll add more. Because when I add it, you add it, it just makes an up-leveled process. So like and subscribe, please. Make your comment. That's the trifecta. And the fourth mogul level thing is to share this with somebody. So share it on your social media. And even if it's just cut and paste the link and share it with any one person in your life that you feel is at some point where they're going to go like, this makes sense to me. And, I'm wanting to be in the truth as well and start to move toward freedom out of the slave system. that's going to help them. The universe is going to know that you are that person, that you are not just getting the wealth of this resource and not doing anything. You're like passing it on, and it knows you are part of a flowing system, and it will give you more of what is going to benefit you. If resources like this come to you and they get stopped with you, you're not as part of the flow, and less of it will come to you, because amazing awesomeness, high level frequency energy flows to where it can actually keep flowing. All right, so please subscribe, like, comment, and share. Thanks for receiving this upgrade, tuning all the way in, getting more into the truth, and we'll continue on each day where you can receive content like this on this subject. I'm going to go further in a variety of content to support you, and come on into our Moguls Club community, where right now it's free. It's going to be that way for a certain little while, and it'll eventually have some small YouTube level little membership fee at some point. Don't know when. And then if you would like, there's a whole level of what my company does to reprogram people on a massive level that is available too. And my books and all these things, these resources that are there for you in the description. Stay tuned, and let's make sure that step by step, truthful moment by truthful moment, you get more and more into freedom. Thanks, Moguls, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.